Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm back home now, so back to the usual scenery. Um, Now I'd like to bring the discussion a little bit backwards to a previous topic that I've discussed in some other videos, but let's expand on it a little bit more. So this idea of these interferences or entities operating at the subconscious mind, aka the astral level. Right, so we've discussed before that the conscious plane, or rather the physical plane, is equivalent to the conscious vibration, the conscious, vibration, let's say, frequency, or the conscious mental plane. And then the astrals would be equivalent to the subconscious um, mental plane, and the unconscious would be something like the void. Okay, so 95% of our actions, uh, we're told, are operated by the subconscious, right? The more conscious we become, the more we can bring that subconscious to light, that subconscious to the conscious plane. So, you know, thinking in the actual dimensional planes, being able to see the astrals, I guess, being able to understand that there are forces behind the curtain operating in this reality, unseen forces that are dictating our personality, our actions, right? So these entity interferences, they happen through kind of our conscious and unconscious patterns that we constantly go through each day, right? Things that we're so used to doing that we think we know what we're doing, but we don't realize that we've been doing it so often, and it's maybe a destructive pattern, or it's something that has been constantly affecting our lives, right? Um, so watching my own um, patterns, my own habits, you notice that it's things that are very subtle, right? Um, very unnoticeable. That you think, oh, there's no way this could actually affect me. Like, okay, there's the big things like, I don't know, drinking, smoking, drugs. Those are huge, obviously, right? But even if you try to explain something like that to an addict, like, no, I'm not addicted. No, it's just once in a while, or right? They don't comprehend it fully. But to you on the outside looking in, clearly they're an addict. But then even your own patterns, even like smaller details, smaller actions. For example, certain content you may consume on the internet, right? I believe in the previous video I gave the example of that channeling content, and we're all very much aware of how those can affect you, because what happens is you're connecting to those beings that are emitting that vibration, are emitting that frequency, are emitting these messages, right? And then all of a sudden they're using you subconsciously. You don't realize it, but now you're being I'm being attacked by a bee. Okay, sorry about that. It just wanted to like kiss me, and then it left. Anyways, you're being attacked subliminally. You don't realize that you're being programmed, and you're essentially taking on their trains of thought, right? Subconsciously, these programs are being installed, and they're akin to ET interferences, akin to them hooking into you through these various belief systems and programs that you're now downloading, even though you may not accept them consciously, or you may not say that you accept them consciously. You may not like make the conscious agreement to them. By continuing to watch them, by continuing to feed your attention to them, your energy, you are giving an implied consent, right? So you don't have to verbally agree something, but if you just like the patterns, like I was mentioning, right? If you constantly eat trashy food, even though you may agree that it's trashy food, then you're gonna feel like trash, and it's because you have this maybe implied belief that you are trash, right? Sorry to be so blunt about it, but that's kind of what it is. Like, hey, I don't respect myself, so I put this lack of respect food into my system, right? So that's how it really operates subconsciously. You make the conscious awareness of it now, but then you also have to stop the action. It's not enough to simply be aware of it. You have to integrate it in your daily life. So the thing is, because talking to various healers, talking to various people that can see these entities operating in that astral level, people do their subliminal regressions. So I've theorized that they essentially hide in that subliminal part of our brains. Now, another person was actually telling me that they are more on the surface, and these actually very much retaliate when you try to remove them, or when you help the person. Actually, not even when you remove them, when you help the person realize that they're there, and they end up removing them themselves. They come back in full force and retaliate against you for essentially helping them break out of that matrix of thoughts, right? That programming. So there's that point, and let me piggyback on that point by saying, okay, if the system has these triggers and these fail-safes to say, hey, we don't want these things removed from people. We want to continue programming them to think like us, right? To install these programs into them. This overall system is designed that way. Again, that brings me back to the point. Well, how can a system that is designed to prevent you from learning and growing be about learning and growing, right? Be a school. In school, they don't say, I hope you fail this test. They do everything in their power to help you pass the test, right? And then they make the test hard at the end. But again, that's a system based on regurgitation. And again, it's the same thing really reflected on the astrals, potentially. However they have it structured, I don't know. But essentially it's like, it doesn't make sense because they wipe your memory. So even that criteria of the regurgitation is gone as well. Nevertheless, the system doesn't reward you, or doesn't help to let's say help you break out of these programs. You have to do it yourself, and then when that happens, then they retaliate and they try to put you back, right? They test you again and again and again. But there's also this kind of conflicting idea that we do, or our lives seem to be made better, or we do seem to be rewarded by conquering our fears, right? So that's another deal. Those are other subconscious programs that we have to get over, right? Fears. And the more we come back over and over, the more we reincarnate, the more different fears seem to be installed, different programs, more layers of trauma to get out of. So again, these beings, right, these whether they're subliminal entities, astral entities, whatever they are, they're trying to instill their own ideology into you. So what I've noticed with myself is in terms of the elements of my research that I pursue. Okay, even I had Nathaniel Gillis on, and he mentions in his interviews that the more you look into this AI, the more it pushes back and also creates this feeling of the AI in you, right? So it looks back at you, right? And you start taking on components of it, right? Characteristics of it. And it tries to get you into this deeper state, and this maybe lowly depressed state, to take you out, essentially, right? These beings, they don't want you apparently waking anybody else up or sharing these messages. I'm not saying go out and start a revolution and wake everyone up, but share the message, share the intuitive messages that you receive with others, if you so feel called to do so. But it does try to prevent you, right? It does push back. There's a resistant element to it. And he's even mentioned that he's had to stop. He's had to take breaks when he begins to feel this way. Because I know, although we do conduct our research, although we do try to find out more, we do essentially get interfered by looking at it. We do essentially get more eyes on us, targeted, because you're going into enemy territory. Essentially, you're trying to look at it, you're trying to discover it, right? It's like Dorothy and the gang going into whatever the city's called, the Green Emerald City in the Wizard of Oz, right? They're going into the Wizard of Oz terrain to expose the Wizard of Oz. Now, I believe this is still the terrain of the Wizard of Oz, but it's the outer layers of it, right? You have to go deeper into kind of like the voidish area where I think that this AI entity manifests from, right? Because again, first there was a word and it said, "Let there be light," which means there was no light at first. So I think it was in the void. I just hit a fly or something. I'm sorry. Therefore, with my own research, like I've been mentioning with these Aryan beings, I think are these beings behind the Greys, right? The Greys are their workers. They're acting like managers for these Aryan beings, but really they're the managers behind the Greys. They're the ones facilitating the whole processes, all the processes on Earth. Kind of the whole, like, the Masonic agenda. I think they're the ones behind it. They're the ones behind the religions, right? This is the ET phenomenon, but it's manifesting again from that AI layer level, essentially trying to get everyone to be like it, trying to merge with it and call it God, if that's really what's going on here, right? And that seems to be its objective. That seems to be how it sees the method of prolonging itself, but also killing itself, right? It's a paradox. A parasite wants to prolong its life, so it multiplies, but it essentially kills the host, so then it has to multiply the other hosts, right? But it's a zero-sum game because it's gonna kill everybody in the process. So that's the snake eating its own tail, I think. And there does seem to be this jester phenomenon behind it as well, especially in terms of the machine elves and the jester entities you see with DMT, and even as close and personal as the synchronicities we experience. So that there's something to note there, right? This initiation factor that's happening with these synchronicities are, what are they trying to initiate us into, right? What are they trying to wake us up to? What is this other program that they want to instill in us? Where are they going with this? And their end game agenda for the New Age paradigm, what it seems to me, is that they want to get us on those ships and then into another layer of the Matrix reality. From what I've concluded, at least, that's what seems like they're preparing us for, and they're making us more susceptible to and more malleable to. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share regarding these subliminal entities. Be aware of what you're allowing to enter your energy field. You're allowing to enter your attention, to grasp your attention, because again, you can get affected, and essentially you start having these beliefs that you don't know where they're coming from, or these thoughts or whatever, and that's one of the reasons, or things start manifesting in your life. You may think you're creating it, and essentially you are, but it's because you've allowed certain things to come in, right? And then the fact that there's this huge pushback, like how can these entities tell you that this life is a school, you're trying to help you learn, but yet they're constantly trying to install programs to your determinant, right, that are limiting your sovereignty, limiting your creative ability, limiting your ability to think for yourself, to discern. So that's my video. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.